Hi everybody, I hope you're having a great day. In this video, I'm going to be covering Professor X. He made his very first appearance in The X-Men, issue number 1, that has a print date of September 1963. His real name is Dr. Charles Francis Xavier, and he's the most powerful telepathic mind on Earth, and this arguably makes him one of the most powerful mutants, period, on Earth. Having a height of 6 feet and weighing 190 pounds, also having blue eyes and a bald head due to his telepathic powers, although more recently he's been shown to have blonde hair. Now, this well-known mutant rights activist and teacher is an alpha-level mutant with vast psionic powers. This is primarily displayed in his near-peerless telepathic abilities, being able to touch the minds of most beings within 250 miles of himself. Although he can briefly extend that radius with extreme effort. And that's not to mention when he's using the advanced technology known as Cerebro or Cerebra, which allows him to reach every mind on a planet. Professor X can do just about anything with his mind, but to name a few, he can cast telepathic illusions, cloak the minds of others from other psionic beings, link the minds of multiple beings together, outright control or shut down people's minds, easily wipe information from people's minds, establish psychic shields or barriers for people's consciousness, rapidly transfer or absorb information between beings, to include uploading information, which basically causes people to instantly learn things, transfer his mind and powers into other host bodies, astral project to various places and dimensions, and direct extremely powerful psionic blasts, which don't necessarily cause physical trauma, but can cause extreme pain or even death in the minds of an adversary. Professor X also has low-level telekinetic abilities, with his mind being able to pull off minor physical interactions with the world around him. And if all of this wasn't enough, Professor X also has extensive military training due to his time spent in the US Army, as well as being one of the brightest minds on Earth, being a leading authority on genetics, mutation, and psionics. His mental prowess being shown as a member of Marvel's elite Illuminati team, during which he even served as the guardian for the Infinity Gauntlet's mind gem. So yeah, the professor is of top-shelf pedigree. Now, we've long known that Charles Xavier has dedicated his life to the idea that humans and mutants can peacefully coexist. His journey towards maturity began very young, when his father Brian passed away when he was a child. This is when Cain Marco, his father's research partner, married his mother, Sharon. But he only did this due to her family fortune. This household tension led to Charles becoming the rival of his stepbrother Cain, who, by the way, would one day become the powerful Juggernaut, with Charles living to see his mother and stepfather pass away in separate incidents. Charles would then go on to attend graduate school at Oxford University in England, where he would meet and fall in love with Moira MacTaggert, despite this relationship ending when he joined the US military. Following his military tour, Xavier would travel the world and end up at a clinic for Holocaust survivors in Israel, where he would befriend the man who would become known as Magneto. These two friends would eventually have to team up to beat Baron von Strucker, but Magneto's savage ways would make it clear that the two had incompatible philosophies concerning the use of violence. Charles would eventually head back to the US, leaving behind Magneto and a close friend, Gabrielle Haller, at the time not realizing that Haller was pregnant with his child, named David, who himself would grow up to be the extremely powerful yet mentally fractured being known as Legion. Subsequent to this is where a confrontation with the villainous alien Lucifer would cause Xavier to become paralyzed. Now, as Professor X, Charles would go on to found Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters in Westchester County, New York, using a portion of his family's wealth to take care of and train mutant children in the use of their powers. To help identify potential students, he would use the machine known as Cerebro, which, as I stated earlier, massively amplifies his telepathic powers. His very first mutant team that he put together, that he called the X-Men, consisted of Cyclops, Angel, Jean Grey, who was going as Marvel Girl, Iceman, and the Beast, with them carrying out heroics to improve the image of mutants around the world. However, Charles and his X-Men would repeatedly face off against Magneto, who had dedicated himself to subjugating humanity through the use of his mastery of magnetism. But Professor X would go on to found multiple other teams, with his second X-Men team consisting of Nightcrawler, Colossus, Storm, Banshee, and Wolverine, Not to mention organizing the New Mutants, Generation X, and much later even a promising young group of Skrull mutants calling themselves Cadre K. The professor would have multiple ups and downs with the Shi'ar Empire, but one of his greatest failures would be him being unable to stop Scarlet Witch from removing the powers of most all mutants, including himself, during the M-Day event. And despite Xavier eventually getting his powers back, the backlash and toll from this mutant decimation was so heavy that it subdued the Hulk's wrath during the World War Hulk event, with the rampaging Green Goliath not killing Xavier due to him realizing that he had lost enough during the mutant decimation. The professor would go on to take another huge hit when one of his best students, Cyclops, lost control when he became empowered with the Phoenix Force and took Xavier's life. However, this was just one of several times Professor had lost his life over the years, and it was shown that his astral form had survived and been imprisoned on the astral plane by the Shadow King. So when Psylocke led the X-Men into the Shadow King's astral plane, they battled and defeated this powerful foe. And Fantomex would agree to let the professor use his body to come back to the physical world, where he would make himself a new, younger body, and for a good while simply call himself the mysterious title X. Which, by the way, is a much friendlier and healthier iteration to Professor when compared to the massively powerful and evil iteration of Professor only known as Onslaught. Now, due to his powers and abilities and his massive influence on the Marvel Universe, for my 1 to 10 rating, I'll give Professor X a rating of 10, which is a legendary rating. I hope everyone enjoyed this video. I'll talk to you next time. Be sure to like, subscribe, and join the new Sage.